up, everybody? It's Geoff Grammer with the Albuquerque Journal. I was just typing away and didn't realize we were now live. But like I said, Geoff Grammer here with the Albuquerque Journal. I'm joined by Sean Reider. It's been a minute since we've done this. Sean, how are you doing?
Jeff, I'm doing good. How about you, man? I'm glad we had a little off-air conversation that we thought was live for a couple minutes before we got this thing going.
Yes, we did. Sean and I were talking to each other for 2, 3, maybe 4 minutes before I realized I had never actually turned the show on. So anyway, that conversation will stay off air. Sean, I do want to ask you, first of all, we're going to talk Lobo hoops. A lot going on, obviously, with Lobo hoops, but a lot's going on with Lobo football too. We'll probably start off with Lobo basketball and then get into Lobo football. But before we kind of do that, I want you to sort of give everybody an update on a few things. One, no grapes. Yep.
No grapes. No.
Still haven't eaten a grape.
Not a single grape.
Still haven't eaten cotton candy. Still haven't eaten blueberry.
I have not had cotton candy. It was funny. I have not had blueberries either, but I was in last week, towards the end of last week, I was kind of in the blueberry picking territory that has been alluded to in the past.
Yeah.
We drove by my mom's old house in Indiana, and she's like, there used to be a blueberry patch there. And I was like, oh, interesting. I wouldn't have eaten a single one.
I'm curious, are you at this point open to trying all that because you have any desire? Or is it just because of peer pressure, reader and, on air or on social media pressure, I mean?
I would say you forgot hot fries too.
And hot fries.
I would say in the when it comes to hot fries and grapes, that's less pressure. I think I am warming up to the idea of eating both at some point. I never want to eat a blueberry. I'll just lay that on the line. I never want to eat a blueberry. And cotton candy. Look, I'm not a big sweets guy.
Yeah.
In general, I don't know. I have like my sweets that I like. I'm getting like I'll turn 25 this year. That's when like your frontal lobe develops, I'm pretty sure, although like I might have already trashed my frontal lobe anyways. So
yeah, my frontal lobe was trashed.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of getting to the age where I don't want to change it all.
Richie, what's up? Sean is still
Richie, my guy.
Richie's saying week 1 opener, you can eat one of those. How about this? We come up with some sort of scenario.
We got to get a bet going.
Right. Where maybe after every Lobo win, you eat one of these new foods you haven't eaten. And after every Lobo loss, I don't know what the counter would be to that, but something along the lines with your beat. We got to come up with something. What do you think Jason Eck would tell you right now if he found out you have these picky eating habits of not eating grapes, cotton candy, blueberries, hot fries? Not so much because they weren't available to you, as we know.
They were available for the record. They were available.
Faithful listeners to the show would know. Sean's mom has let me know that he was exposed to all of this. He had opportunities.
Well, not really cotton candy, to be honest.
Okay, not really cotton candy.
And hot fries, more of a regional thing, I think, to a certain degree.
But grapes and blueberries, that's all you, man.
Yeah, that's all me. I was pretty stubborn growing up. I think Jason would, in my limited time knowing Jason, I think Jason would give me an odd look.
Yeah.
And probably just try and move on from there.
Move on
maybe rib me a little bit in some way.
Move on because he's not interested, or move on because like it's
just too weird. It's just too weird.
Yeah.
I think it's a little odd.
You are kind of weird.
Thanks, Jeff.
JC is pointing out, chew your blueberries. You don't even know what that means. But
yeah. Does that make them better, like the flavor? Or?
Yeah, let's go with that. I believe that's some digestive commentary there. Make sure you chew them.
That's not like digestive. That's like sensory. Like
no. I think what he's getting at is make sure you chew them.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's where this show's gone. All right. So let's get into Lobo basketball. The last few months of the season, I don't even remember when the last regular season show we did. But we obviously have had a little bit of news happen in Lobo basketball in the last couple months.
Of news, yeah.
They do end up clinching the regular season title. They end up going to the Mountain West tournament. A lot of fans there. And I would be lying if I said I was surprised Richard Pitino left. I am a little surprised that it ended up being Xavier. I think most people around the program knew that there was a very good chance Pitino was going to leave at that point. And it wasn't something that went unreported or unasked at press conferences. It was something I was asking him about. And he never once lied about it. He was wasn't even overly evasive, to be honest. He was fairly open, was pretty open about it that, yeah, I'm talking, I've taken some calls. It doesn't mean I'm looking for a job, but yeah, I take them. And, Adam, thank you for being back as well. We are glad to be back, but
Adam, good to see you.
The Richard Pitino thing was not a huge surprise, but I think the way it played out, where I think people were sort of leaning towards and maybe getting comfortable with the idea that it might be Villanova, and then that never happened. I think that maybe gave some people maybe hope, if I don't know if that's the right word, but it gave some people the thought anyway that maybe he wouldn't be leaving. Then once some dominoes fell, and of all places, once Chris Del Conte at Texas fired Rodney Terry, which opened up a falling domino space for Sean Miller then to be hired. Once Xavier opened up, then so did UNM, as we know. And that opens up a position where Fernando Lobo, who Chris Del Conte is his mentor from the University of Texas, now had to do a search for a basketball coach. Fernando Lobo has been here 100 and about 15 days now, something like that, or I guess maybe 140 days. Can't remember exactly what it was. But he has been here a little over 3 months and is already, A, started his job, B, had to learn Santa Fe and do the whole legislative session and secure a lot of funding, which I will actually be doing a podcast with him tomorrow to talk a little bit about that, but mostly about football and basketball. And then he had to do a football coaching search, national search. Well, let me back up. He first tried to keep the coach, Bronco Mendenhall.
Mm-hmm.
Then he had
made an aggressive offer. Then he had to do the old national search thing and hired Jason Eck. Not too long after that, he is in ongoing talks with Richard Pitino and his agent about trying to keep him. They put together an aggressive offer for that too, more than anybody's ever been offered at the University of New Mexico to keep Richard Pitino. And Xavier came in with double that, and Pitino leaves. So then Fernando had to do a national search for basketball coach, which settled in on, I don't mean settled in on as though it was a settling. They got one of the hot names in this coaching carousel cycle, and that's Eric Olin from UC San Diego, which was received, I think, mostly with optimism. And I think most Lobo fans are like, okay, let's see what he's got. But certainly a high risk, high reward kind of hire with Eric Olin, in that he doesn't have a ton of experience at the Division I level. Now he has 21 years of experience at the same school. So the idea that it's just a stepping stone moving on kind of job that everyone likes to talk about, which I certainly don't think is actually true. He is not proven to be that kind of person or coach. That said, he had a lot of success there. That said, he hasn't had a whole lot of Division I experience, either with recruiting, scheduling, all that kind of stuff. So we are all in a little bit of a wait and see. But I'm telling you, this guy did not instantly or overnight gain this reputation. He had been building this reputation for quite some time. In the COVID year, when San Diego State had that really, really good Mountain West team with Malachi Flynn leading the way, and then they canceled the tournament. A lot of people wanted to see if San Diego State could make that run back then. Well, in the same town as a Division II school, UC San Diego at the time was 30-1 and the far and away favorite to win a national championship at the Division II level that year. Then comes COVID, then comes their transition for 4 years into Division I, of which you're not eligible to play in the NCAA tournament until this year was their first year. They win 30 games. They win the Big West tournament and regular season. And he is a hot coaching name because of it. And now he's here. So what do you think, Sean, of the hire of Eric Olin, both specifically, if you knew him at all, but also just in general of Fernando kind of doing a little bit of what he did with football in hiring a guy who doesn't have the experience at this level, Mountain West level, or the FBS level, and kind of taking a chance on a guy who's proven to build a program, but at a much lower level. Yeah, I can't speak too much about knowing a ton of specifics about Olin and UCSD. I knew of Olin. I knew of UCSD through the buzz that UCSD got this year in terms of making the tournament. They played Michigan awfully well in the first round, too. I think everybody's all watched that at this point or learned about that. And Olin was a name that was going around coaching circles and stuff like that, or coaching carousel rumors and all that as well. Yep. But you're dead on. It is 100%. And I think fan reaction has been of a similar tone to the hire that is a similar mold to Jason Eck and all that too. These are guys that maybe they aren't huge home run hires or names or anything like that by any expectation, by any measure or whatever. But these are guys that have been around, have certainly paid their dues, playing, coaching and working at lower levels and all that too. And maybe they aren't fully diamonds in the rough. I think Eck had pretty much a pretty similar reputation to Olin going into. He was certainly involved in plenty of other coaching searches this last hiring cycle and all that too.
Yep.
But yeah, it definitely is a similar mold where these are guys where, you are not taking it. Maybe it isn't a safe hire, but at the same time, you're taking a little bit of a risk, but there's a pretty good upside, and it's not hard to see how that upside could work out. Now they have to go out and actually play the games, and we'll figure out from there. But
100%. The thing I just said a little while ago over in the sports house, we are, by the way, for people who are wondering, we are sitting like 5 feet from each other right now and still put the headsets on and everything.
Almost like too close.
Yeah, we're a little too close. I can hear the yes. But we are in the Albuquerque Journal offices. There is a newsroom behind me over there of hardworking journalists journalisting.
That's a term, yes.
Journaling?
That is the
No, the journalisting probably.
Yeah. Journaling is like self-reflection.
Yeah.
That's like
They're
in
not
now.
Mashburn used to journal.
Did he really?
Yeah, daily. So anyway, we're here, and I said this in the sports little area about an hour ago now. Rick Wright and Lucas Pierman are both in there, and Sean and I were both in there. And I said this of Fernando's hiring. Fernando, being a 36-year-old athletic director, has now hired as an FBS first-time coach Jason Eck, who is a first-time, who was a program builder at a lower level.
But a first-time FBS
first-time
coach.
FBS level head coach. And the upside is huge. The risk being that maybe a guy taking the step up doesn't effectively take that step up, which every now and then happens. He then does a basketball search with the cash cow in town, right? The big, fairly important Lobo basketball program. And while Eric Olin is certainly a Division I coach and just made it to an NCAA tournament, the history of UCSD has been Division II a lot longer than it's been Division I. So the level of experience, there's a lot of similarities to what he did. Certainly a coach, though, who gained national attention with his approach and all that. But the point being, he has now hired two high risk, high ceiling, high risk, high reward kind of hires that if in 3 years, if Jason Eck and Lobo football get right, if Lobo football gets right because of Jason Eck, and if Lobo basketball is continued success and gets to an NCAA tournament because of Eric Olin, the star power of those three as a threesome, but the star power of Fernando Lobo certainly is a 36-year-old now. The 3 years from now would be a 39-year-old. Obviously, that's New Mexico State Aggie math for you. He's going to be through the roof, right? And probably get another job somewhere else, and we'll have to go through it all again. But there is a potential here for the three highest profile athletic department jobs at UNM with all young, first time at their current position kind of coaches and administrators. They could strike gold. But there are risks. So I do think it's interesting that the mold was very similar to what he did with football as to what he did with basketball.
Yeah, no, I think there definitely is. I don't want to say Fernando is more comfortable with that hire as opposed to going out and getting a just a bigger name, a guy that has been a more established D1 coach and all that too. But I think he sees the upside. I don't know if I would. I think I might disagree ever so slightly with the high risk element of it too. I won't say either are super low risk because we don't know what's going to happen. Neither of them have been here all that long. But at the same time, I don't know if they were like the ultimate, the true highest risk or anything like that. To me,
probably not the highest risk.
No, yeah. I don't think so. I think there definitely could have been other, even lower, not lower, but guys that coach at lower levels that could have been certainly more higher risks to a certain degree.
Higher risk would be hiring the high school coaches.
The highest risk for basketball is Bob Huggins. That is DEFCON. That is DEFCON 5.
His name was involved. His name was involved more than on social media, I will say.
Because it was involved a good deal on social media.
Yeah. There were people making calls on Bob Huggins' behalf for sure. So let me get to a couple of your questions. We're going to get into Lobo football in a minute. Actually, before I do that, I will say this. I am expecting soon some recruiting news. I I assure you, it doesn't even matter anymore, but until they start getting names out there. But I assure you they're working. The process on how Eric Olin and his staff recruit is really a far more meticulous and kind of maybe time-consuming eval process than does
compared to
most
previous staffs. Even
well, not even just previous staffs. I think compared to most staffs everywhere, they take a little bit longer to evaluate and get an eval on a player because they're not just looking for how good he is at this. They're also then combining that with their 7 other evals that they just did in the last hour, and they're trying to piece them together to make sure that they fit together. So it's not just like a player eval. It is a player eval plus a player compatibility sort of evaluation that they're doing with their other recruits. It's pretty time consuming, but I do think that there will be some recruiting news in the coming days, maybe as early as today. I'll keep refreshing social media, not suggesting that you guys need to be doing that like something's coming that quick, but I do think that there could be some news coming very, very soon, and I just kind of want to let you guys know that. Okay, some questions. You can go ahead.
We should probably, since half the questions and comments are all about it, we should probably talk about the Lobo that just departed. Or
True Washington?
Yes, it was tipped and official. I don't know if True made an announcement either, but by the way, shout out Louis. So.
Yeah, you're risking your job to listen to grammar. That is good. I appreciate that. I will knock this one out too, but yeah, then I will talk about that. Sean, any updates? Yeah, we'll get to, I'm sorry, Joseph. I probably should have saved this for till we got to football, but any updates on potential spring portal additions for football? And then is Moneyball here with Olin? Yeah, pretty much it is. Let me get to one of these True Washington ones. Let's see.
Do you want me to get Joseph now, or you want to say the football?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think to lay it out kind of short, it's pretty clear by now. There's 5 practices to go, and then the spring game, including that. It's pretty clear where they need guys. You knew heading into spring practice, not camp. You knew heading in that they were going to be pretty darn thin on the defensive line. That hasn't really changed at all. There has been the emergence of Brian Booker in the middle, and he's doing some pretty nice things. He's still kind of learning the position. He's Texas Southern transfer that came in as an O lineman there, and he's still kind of figuring out D-line a little bit, but he is massive. He has the biggest hands I've ever seen of anybody involved in this program. And he's done some good things, but they're about, I thought really about 2 guys short, particularly on the interior and the defensive line. Jason Eck thinks it's about 3. So they're going to need guys there for sure. They're going to need at least one more quarterback. That was something that even before things happened with Emory Floyd, where they moved him to wide receiver, and then he ended up leaving the program. He is not in the portal right now, to my understanding, but he will almost assuredly be in the portal soon. And then Isaiah Chavez, who was also, he had a position change pitched to him in terms of moving to linebacker. UNM said, "Hey, we."
You weren't here
I wasn't here for that, but I've seen the clip.
Isaiah Chavez.
So linebacker was kind of pitched to him. They said they really liked what he could possibly do at the position. Isaiah, his heart was set on kind of playing quarterback. He also has a child on the way with his fiance. So he is going to sit out this next season and try and, re-enter the portal, or actually just enter the portal. He hasn't been in it before, and see what it takes him from there. But they're going to need 1, maybe 2 more quarterbacks, because they have the kid from De La Salle coming in, Fave, and then they have Jack Lane, who is still dealing with the elbow thing. I don't know when that's going to get resolved. I don't know how that's totally going to play out. I'm not saying that UNM is kind of holding their breath. But that's certainly a situation to monitor.
What did you just say?
UNM holding their breaths? No. UNM is not holding that. And then James Lofstein has been the number 1 through pretty much all of spring practice. So you're going to need those. I think they want another linebacker. They've offered 1 linebacker, Whalen. I think it's Trent Whalen. He is a grad transfer from Kent State. I saw that 2 days ago, but he played most of his career at Southern Utah. Actually never even played it down at Kent State. He just transferred in this last winter cycle. So yes, defensive line, quarterback, linebacker. I think they could probably add 1 or 2 more guys, and then they need some wide receivers. I don't know how many they're looking to add there, but the way Jason has explained it is that it's a little bit of a deal where, they're 10 practices in and there are still guys in the second unit that are struggling to get aligned on plays and all that. And plays are busting because of that. And because guys are making certainly, I shouldn't say that, but they need more defense. They need more wide receiver depth. But the good news, Keegan Johnson, and I'll be writing about this a little bit more today. He is back at practice finally. Tuesday was his first day out for UNM. So that is good news on that front. But that's kind of how they're looking at it. And in terms of guys they might be looking at, I'm not entirely sure. That is the phrasing Fernando Lobo used in that statement. The
aggressive offer.
Yes.
Let me go back to the one I had up there for a long time. I didn't mean to actually click it on when I did, but that is to what we were speaking to. Look, I think Fernando's been great so far too. It is certainly a wait and see. I think is the fairest way that we can put it. I think he's been great so far, but now the proof will be in the results putting of these two coaches.
Yeah.
It is maybe that's what I meant. More than anything by high risk, high reward, the high reward we get. The high risk may not even be individually in either one of these two hires, but the fact that Fernando Lobo just made two hires that both may fail because of experience.
Yep.
And is high risk for him.
He is staking his career essentially on that.
Certainly the early part of his career.
Yes.
But Justin Martinez says Lobo has absolutely proven his ability to lead the athletic department. Lots of work in his first 120 days, no doubt. It is a crazy first 120 for him with everything he had to do. Despite setbacks, we got some great new guys leading our marquee programs. I think that's true, but we will all find out kind of together on that one. This is a little bit of a Lobo update here for those that don't know. True Washington, the former Lobo who's been in the transfer portal since the day Donovan Dent went in. It was actually the Tuesday. The two of them officially went in on a Tuesday morning when Richard Pitino was still the coach. And by Tuesday night, Richard Pitino took the Xavier job after I think some other dominoes fell in the whole process that day. But Richard Pitino did not know he was not going to be the Lobo coach, and both True and Donovan entered anyway. Donovan has since gone to UCLA for reportedly as much as like $3 million. True Washington, I don't have any dollar figures for you, but True Washington today, the news is out, has committed to the University of Miami, Miami Hurricanes. So
Life Wallet. Are they still involved?
I think so.
Yeah.
A lot of their NIL money was the Life Wallet guy. JC Mitchell, the slow pace of basketball signings does not instill confidence. Retaining True would be big for fan buy-in. Obviously, the True part, we just kind of touched base on. True's not coming back, but True wasn't coming back. I can tell you guys, and I think it's been alluded to, I wish True had said it himself. He has not talked to me since then and has not publicly said this, but the understanding around the program was that he was gone. He was going to go somewhere else and get some money, right? It's not that he wasn't getting paid here, but I think he was ready to go try something else. I am curious when you sign at Miami, he didn't do it immediately, but I am curious what the Jai Lucas sort of connection might be to him and his AAU and his nephew is Ty Washington. Certainly, these guys know their basketball are in basketball circles and certainly know a lot of people in basketball. So there we go. Defector. Let's see. Yep, lost True to Miami. True has gone to Miami. That is correct. And you're right, JC. I pulled this up after the other one, but you saw the news. Heard he visited Xavier but did not sign. More to the story, Geoff. If he visited Xavier, I can't confirm that. I don't know that for sure. I know he and Isaac Chu, and he had a fine relationship, I think, with Pitino, but Isaac Chu was the key to a lot of these recruits, and he may have visited just to make sure, but I was really under the impression that True was moving on somewhere else other than UNM and the UNM staff. Maybe when that UNM staff was no longer at UNM, he said, okay, well, I'll go look wherever you go. And that might be true. True. But I don't know for sure, Jimmy, if he did, in fact, visit specifically Xavier or not. How many years of good football would it take for UNM to even be on the radar of the Pac or Big 12. I think before I hand this over to the football guy,
I would like you to start on this one.
Yeah, I would say, first of all, the Big 12 and the Pac are two very distinctly different entities at this point, and will be moving forward. The Pac-12, or whatever it will be called, is not going to be a power conference. It just will not. Even if they got Memphis and Tulane, which was their first hope, they would not have been a power conference. Those do not a power conference make in this current landscape. It just doesn't. And at this point, when they don't have their 8th football member, and nobody with any kind of credibility has confirmed the social media rumors of the teams they're looking at, but
some closer to Albuquerque than others.
That is correct. No reporter has said any of that stuff. I will say this: the fact that they don't have an 8th football member right now should be worrisome for the Pac. Their TV numbers are out and not as big as I think they had hoped. It doesn't mean that they're going to be smaller than the Mountain West. I think the Mountain West will still be a smaller number. I'm not saying that, but they are not as big as they were talking about. So we shall see. So my quick answer to that is for the Pac, I think they could be ready in a few years, right? They're at least through 2031, though, the current deal with the Mountain West. But that said, I would be willing to say that instead of going to the Pac, I would see a merger in 5 years as opposed to more Mountain West schools just going to the Pac. I think I'm trying to see if I believe what I just said. I think that's right. I think I would see a merger before I see much more defections, because the defections would have to come with paying a hefty price, exit fee price for the schools. And I just don't see schools outside of the power structure anymore doing that so easily like they've been doing the last so many years. Everybody was trying to position themselves for big TV money. I don't think with what the Pac is going to get TV money wise and what the Mountain West is going to get, I don't think there's going to be Mountain West schools saying, okay, let me go ahead and pay this $5 million to leave to go get that extra $800,000 a year. Because the more teams in a league, remember, everyone talks about, oh, add this, add this, add this. The more teams is just slicing up the pie into smaller pieces. The money isn't getting bigger at this point. If you just add a bunch of teams, you might be strengthening the league in some aspects, but you're not getting more money at this point. So you're just adding more mouths to feed.
Yeah, I think to actually answer Adam's question in that sense, and then kind of go back to it and all that as well, I think I'm generally with you. If you throw out the pretty hefty buyout figure, if they were to defect and all that, probably a few to 5 to 6, maybe 7 years, but that we don't even know if things are going to look like 7 years down the road. The Big 12, a generation of consistent, good conference championship level football. They become a powerhouse, and also good football investment. That is kind of what takes me. I'm not saying it's a never, but it's pretty unlikely given the trajectory of the program that we have kind of seen. So
I think that's fair. I don't think the Big 12 is going to be one of the have-nots.
Yes.
And I do see a potential scenario where the Big Ten and the SEC are the two halves.
Well, if anything, they are literally the halves right now.
Those are the two halves.
They absolutely are positioning themselves to do so,
and
to be that.
For now, the ACC and the Big 12 are also the halves in a Power 4 structure, and certainly at a higher level than everybody else. But I could even see the Big 12 and the ACC falling off from the two halves.
Yes, no, that's 100% what they are angling for right now. The Big Ten and the SEC.
The fake Pac rhymes with whack.
Hey, bring back the whack. Can we just go back? Let's bring the Southwest Conference back. Let's just be normal.
Go back to the whack.
Yeah, go back. Tradition.
NDT. What am I doing here?
What your emergency? Richie, can you clarify? We're not good with acronyms.
Words.
No. Yeah.
Emergency NDT.
Richie, please clarify.
Youth Gone Wild. Guys, I'm still pretty dumb on all the things NIL. Has the journal ever run on everything you need to know about? I have an answer for this. About some of the basic rules on how it works every day for programs, or can you recommend one? The answer is that nobody seems to have a really good clue, including the schools right now.
Yeah.
This very week, the House ruling was supposed to, on Monday, have finally, after months of delays, been decided, and it is still held up in court. The long story short, players are allowed to be paid now. It looks like the schools have adopted even though it's not yet been approved, the House settlement is going to basically clear the way for legally for the schools themselves to pay the athletes without classifying them as employees. And as such, everybody would be in this revenue sharing world. But no, I won't belabor it. There is not a really good answer to your question, but not that we don't know it. Nobody knows it. That includes the people in compliance at UNM. That includes the people in compliance at the NCAA. There's a lot being held up in the courts right now, and there just isn't a clean answer to this right now. And it's really the NCAA's fault for how a lot of this ended up happening. Oh, that is correct.
It definitely was a Freudian slip on my part. Apologies to all the children at home listening.
Any chance Dodson, Thomas, or Webb come back? Yeah. I think Kate Dodson, does what UC San Diego would like him to do. Maybe not as a lead point guard, but I could see a chance for Kate Dodson. I don't know for sure on Webb or Thomas. I do think that Eric Olin not only wants but requires you to be a very efficient outside shooter, and I do think Cade Dodson would qualify for what they're going for there. I don't know if Daniel Thomas is a good outside shooter. Quentin Webb, frankly, I guess I would say I don't know for sure how efficient he is overall, but I would say yes to Cade Dodson. I don't think there's as much a chance for Daniel Thomas or Quentin Webb to come back. All right. Richard, I think Lobo legacy will be what happens to the Lobo program after all the conference realignment. Agree or disagree? The only thing I'll disagree with is I don't think conference realignment's really going to end until there's a major break off. Probably what Sean was sort of saying, the SEC and the Big Ten may end up just breaking off completely, or maybe the major shift that I can see happening too, that I wish could happen, but it's so cumbersome now, so many contracts and TV deals that it may just not be possible. But I would love to see football be able to break off and all these conferences be able to go back to what they were. Those are the legalities that I don't think are ever going to really happen at this point, because every league has buyouts and this and that and TV deals. But man, it would be ideal if the entire college athletics structure didn't get screwed up by football, which is the driving the bus, but also screwing up everything else regionally. And for so many, just football screwed it all up. The sport that has 5 road trips a year for some teams. This court is bothering me, obviously. The team that or the sport that has like 5 or 6 road trips a year that are chartered and they're once a week, pretty much led all of college athletics to now being across the country kind of entity where tennis teams are traveling 3 time zones over to have matches. So I hate
Mick Cronin has to see the Statue of Liberty 2 times. 2 times. 2 times.
I do not like Mick Cronin in general. I do think his
you don't like
ranting
Mick,
on that.
You don't like Mick Cronin in general?
Not a big Mick Cronin fan.
Really?
I think he's a little too. I think he's a big Mick Cronin fan.
Oh yeah,
and I think he's a little bit too much preachy and
I would not. I don't know if I would use preachy to describe Mick Cronin.
I think he's become it this year. I think he says, "Look how I've done this." Look how
he's getting tired of seeing the Statue of Liberty, Geoff.
Right. Look, I will say this: Patino loves him. Patino's good friends with him.
Yes.
I'm sure he's a good enough guy in general. I don't like how he tries to control press conferences with, "I'm right," and like, don't even ask me the questions that imply I'm wrong, kind of stuff. I think anybody should be allowed to be asked the question. Now you answer it however you want, but don't make people around you feel like lesser people or that like they're dumb because they ask you a question you don't like. If it's a fair question, it's a fair question.
That is kind of Mark Turgeon vibes to a certain degree. Yes. I don't know. I don't mind Mick though. I'm okay with Mick.
G-Wade,
good to see you, man.
Olin said he's looking for guys that are skilled, smart, and tough. Love his evaluation process, including detailed film watching. Might not be a popular take, but I don't think Patino's staff did all that well with portal pickups. I do disagree with you. I think you're right that it might not be a popular take. I don't know if it's popular necessarily, or is the word I would go for. I just think that the portal. I think the mix that the Patino staff really mastered was still recruiting high school kids while still hitting the portal. And I will remind you who the portal pickups were during the Patino era. Jamal Mashburn Jr., Jalen House were 2 transfers in the first year. Morris Adesi, Josiah Alec, Mustafa Amzil, Nelly Jr. Joseph, Philip Borovichinen was one. CJ Nolan off the bench obviously was one, but I do think that they did really well with transfers in general. But the reason I say I think they hit this really good mix was Donovan Dent was homegrown, right? He was a high school recruit who became a star. True Washington, the high school recruit who in the second year became a starter, and in my mind was then I voted for him 3rd team all conference. Jovan Milicevic, I was about to say Borovichinen and combine the two. And who else? Oh, JT Toppin, obviously a high school recruit that they got out of Texas and Oklahoma area when those guys could have got them then. And he was recruited and picked up by UNM and then transferred. So I do think they had a good mix of high school plus the portal pickups, and they haven't really hit the junior college ranks too much. What do we got here? Yeah, if anyone knows a billionaire looking for college to root for, that would help for sure. I think that is accurate.
If anyone knows a billionaire that is looking for a newspaper to support and just general like 2 sports writers, you can just support us, honestly.
That's absolutely right.
We would like to, we could use a cash infusion real quick.
And if you just want to see someone eat grapes, even.
Yeah, a lot of grapes.
Is NMSU going to the Pac-12? A rumor. Is it a rumor? Yes, it's a rumor. Also, where does UNM stand in moving to the Pac-12? So we kind of covered some of this. The moving to the Pac-12, if they wanted UNM, they would have invited them initially.
Yeah.
NMSU was not in a position by about good $10 million to join the Mountain West. The Pac-12 was a conference established because they didn't want to be in a conference with schools that weren't investing a good 10 or 20 million more dollars. So I would say that certainly as a full member, as a true invite, no, NMSU has no chance of going to the Pac-12. If NMSU is willing to take like a quarter share and be the only team in the league that will never be able to compete because of the revenue that they accept will be less than everyone else, maybe there's a chance. But even there, I have not seen any credible reports that is even accurate.
There is a weird, I won't say cottage industry, but there is like a very relatively dedicated like group of people on the social media app X. I don't know if it's going on Facebook, but it's X and Twitter in particular that just post about this stuff nonstop.
Yeah.
And it's not credible reporting. If you see it out there, it does not mean there's it's not a where there's smoke, there's fire. It's just a bunch of smoke.
Yeah.
And the alarm's going to go off at some point. So.
All right. Merger seems like a lost option, most logical option. Lost option, some might say too. The PAC needs to get over themselves. To your point, Geoff, the PAC is never going to be a power conference. So here's in the regional rivalries in the PAC and Mountain West merging. Here's an option that I think did get brought up about a year or two ago that I think would be worth exploring, but even then, it's just so hard to budget when you don't know year to year what league you'll be in. But the idea of relegation or shifting divisions somehow,
yes.
The top 3 teams in the lower division conference every year, the following year, then get the bump up. The bottom 3 teams move down, and there is a constant shuffling of the top 3 and bottom 3 every year, at least for football. Maybe you don't do this for the other sports, but just at least for football, the issue there is, frankly, first of all, I'll say the TV contract. I think TV networks might be interested in that. It does probably add intrigue to a late season November.
It adds
Mountain
plenty
West
for teams
game,
that weren't
right?
playing for anything else to begin with. Yeah,
maybe they are playing. Maybe they're playing a bad New Mexico team in November.
Yep.
That game means something a little bit more now, right? So I could see that there'd be TV money, and this idea of going from a lower conference to a higher conference. But what would you do with the lower conference champion? Would the lower conference champion that maybe ran the table ever have a chance when, by definition, they are the lower conference of a larger conference? Could they ever? Could the team that gets relegated to what the league itself is agreeing is the bad conference ever have a chance? Would they get the same TV money anyway? And then if so, why even have the 2 set up? So I don't know. There are some problems with it, but I would love that. That'd actually, in my mind, be cool if you had a merger that led to a relegation system. All right, let's see what else we got here. This is all you, man. Mr. Reider?
Mr. Reider, which would you rather see happen this year? UNM goes to Ann Arbor and takes down Michigan, or MSU beats them, Michigan State University, in East Lansing? Mr. Ribicki, thank you so much for your question. I am not a New Mexico fan, as I have explained in the past. So, yeah, I would love to see MSU beat Michigan and East Lansing. It has been that hasn't been that long. It's 2022. 2021 was the last time that happened. But yeah, that's what I would prefer, Mr. Ribicki. But thank you for commenting.
Such a hater you are.
I know. Oh, you're a nose tackle. What'd you play? You played.
I was a very different size then. Let's just say that. I was a skill position guy. It doesn't mean I was skilled. It just means I was small. But yeah, small, not just short. I was also much narrower than I am now.
Richie, the irony is that I played nose in high school. I actually played nose.
There's some irony here that the two guys
There's some irony.
I was a defensive back and he was a nose tackle.
Yes.
That is odd. The next Dexter Lawrence. All right.
Giants.
All right, has there been a resolution to the Shane Dumas Sanchez incident? No, there has not. Still in the courts. I will say this. There not being a resolution per se. I will also add there has not been any discipline. UNM has looked into it and has not yet decided that there needs to be any discipline. UNM has talked to all the witnesses. There has not been any criminal charges. I will remind people that even the lawsuit against UNM and Richard Pitino chose not to sue the alleged assailant, the person who threw the punch, and chose not to even name him. Not just name him in the lawsuit, but just call him player number one in the lawsuit. Not even use the guy's name. That would be a very interesting thing to take to trial. If you fought this to the end and it actually went to trial rather than settlement. I don't know how you would be able to pursue a case where you don't even name the guy who did it when all these witnesses are going to be called to then say what they saw or didn't see, but they couldn't name this person. There's some issues with it. And I think it's worth noting that they chose not to name the guy. This will never go to trial, but I don't know, whatever. Geoff, how much do you think Dent will benefit from playing with McDonald's All-American and future NBA star Xavier Booker? So I'll say this, man. If JT Toppin had stayed, I thought Donovan Dent and JT Toppin had a chemistry that would have been awesome to watch this year. I do think Nelly Jr. Joseph became a monster with basically becoming the primary pick and roll big, as opposed to JT last year being that guy a little bit. So how much would he benefit? Yes, he will benefit. I think what people need to see, though, in terms of the NBA out of Donovan Dent at this point, isn't so much how he plays with others. Mm-hmm. I think they know he can help others get better. I think they need to see him hit some three-pointers. I think they need to see him be able to do a little more one-on-one and ISO stuff. And you did see that in the end of the Marquette game. He had a horrible game, right? And then at the end, he just kind of went pick and roll and just took guys to the hoop over and over again and took over. But I think that's what needs to be seen out of Donovan Dent at this point is actually more selfishness, more one-on-one stuff and just hitting some threes. I don't know that him playing with guys that are going to finish better actually is what scouts need to see. So what do you think? You saw the Michigan State game.
I know you're not very high on Mick Cronin in general and probably not his developmental abilities. But I agree with everything you said. I would like to ask Mr. House a question. Did you create any shareholder value today, and did you get off X at all? So yes, I think that's where we'll leave that.
Where is that? Is that in here?
No. I'm asking him the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was like,
it has been a yes. That is. I think we can leave this one. I think we can leave it.
All right.
I have no idea who else has Miami really added.
Biggest jump. I don't think it'll be Donovan Dent because I don't see him making a huge jump.
No, I think it'll be pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think he'll be good, but I think he was. Again, now I just think it's like people want to see him do it at a consistent basis. So I don't think it'll be Donovan Dent. Philip Borovicanin, I thought was going to be prime for a huge year next year had he been here. Maybe in the Big East, I don't see that as much, but which transfer? Well, you know what? In terms of opportunity and therefore stats, I'll bet you it'll be Braden Applehans.
Yeah, I like that actually. Yeah,
Braden going to Drake is going to be. He fits what they do. He's a shooter. And they use shooters.
Henderson, South Dakota State coach, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The new Drake coach. New Drake coach.
Yep. So that's my answer. Tino did okay with transfers. UNM is just poor. Yeah, UNM's also has the highest NIL in the current Mountain West, though, including San Diego State, Boise State, and UNLV. For basketball, not for all sports. They need to get better in football, that's for sure.
Yep.
UNM rumored for the Big 12. Do you think UNM will ever get another invite to the Big 12? I don't know about another because I don't know that they've ever been invited.
When was that cycle when there was a little, not a true invite, but a little bit of buzz about that?
Paul Krebs wrote a letter to the commissioner of the Big 12 saying,
right,
hey, here we're here. Here's what we bring.
Open for business.
We're open for business. And they politely declined. UNLV going to the Big 12 would be interesting because if the Big 12 actually added UNLV and all their debt, there's a ton of debt at UNLV right now, by the way. The Board of Regents there are just grilling their athletic directors.
Not sure if they can actually pay they can do the first 2 years of Dan Mullen's contract, correct? They're locked in on that, but the rest is
some donors have all that. But where are they getting money for anything else and to pay the money they owe some people? So
Josh Pastner, he's going to make like what,
500,000, but I think that's because it's going to be backloaded.
Yeah.
And UNLV has some issues that I don't look. They may end up in the Big 12. I'm not saying they won't, but I just don't think the Big 12 right now. Like I don't think the presidents at Kansas and even Houston after just making a national title game and anybody in the Big 12 meetings is sitting there saying, yeah, let's add a school that right now is so far in debt in the Mountain West. Mm-hmm. They can't handle the Mountain West finances. Let's add them right now. The reason I don't think UNLV is as attractive as everybody kind of assumes they are is because nobody needs a school in Las Vegas to go to Las Vegas anymore. Normally, why would our conference hold a championship in Los Angeles or some big city when we don't even have a school there? I get those in general.
Yeah.
Vegas isn't that anymore. Vegas can hold the Pac-12 championship for years without having a school there, and it was tremendous. They can hold events. That is what Las Vegas is at this point. I don't think you need a school in Vegas to be a Vegas conference. Ken is saying, it isn't said enough or ever. Both of you guys are such good writers. It just makes following Lobo Sports much better. I appreciate that.
Ken, thank you. We appreciate that.
I don't think this is Ken Sickinger, but man, I sure would be interesting.
This is a picture of Ken from 95.
Ken S. is Ken Sickinger, our colleague. No, Ken, I appreciate that.
Yeah, Ken, thank you, truly.
I read it really slow because I was waiting for a joke to be in there and I didn't want to just overlook it. But no, I appreciate it. That was just a compliment, and I will take just a compliment. I appreciate that. There we go. Dent or Dampier?
It is 100% Devin Dampier, in my opinion. It is 100%. And part of that is obviously Jason Beck is going to be there. They're going to be running the exact same stuff. I've read a little bit. I don't think media are allowed to watch any of you. Actually, no, they are allowed to watch some of Utah's. No, they're allowed to watch most of Utah's spring practices. They're just not allowed to tape anything. And the early reports have been quite good out of there. There's a good deal of talent on this Utah offense too. Obviously, Ryan Davis is going to be there, who you're all familiar with. Nikari Rogers will be there. But then there's the oh my gosh, who is the Washington State running back that was here last year? He is there as well too, and I've heard good things about the O-line. I think it is Dampier though, and Dampier had a little bit of that quality where he was kind of a Mountain West after dark darling to a certain degree. Yeah. A lot of the sickos, as they brand themselves, were big in on Dampier. I think he's going to become not quite a household name or a Heisman candidate or anything like that, but a guy that's going to be pretty darn successful. And if he cleans up on turnovers, man, and ideally he probably should, he could very well be in the running for Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year or something like that. Unless, am I missing any big names coming back in the Big 12? To be honest with you, though, we wouldn't obviously he would have he probably would have won it last year in the Mountain West. And just, hey, there's Ashton Genty in the league, and he's doing what he does. But yeah, I think it's Dampier far and away.
Arizona lost quarterback, and I know they lost the receiver.
No, Fafita is back to throw McMillan, who famously, if you watch any draft coverage about Tatero Familia, they show the first touchdown run where Pierre Camini falls over, and yeah, Not the finest night for New Mexico secondary.
Will Albuquerque be patient enough for Olin and his methodical and careful way of doing things? I don't know, man. Like if we're judging him on April, maybe he's a little too slow in giving some recruits. So he may lose April in the fans' minds. I'm not saying that means he loses in terms of recruiting. I think he's going to recruit what he wants just fine. So I'll say no. I won't say that he will. That they won't be patient enough. There will be a season at the same point of the calendar as there always have been, and that'll be when the true judgment I think starts to happen. Yeah.
Is Guy a Vegas guy?
Yeah.
Is he really?
I believe so. He has a kid at that goes to UNLV, I believe is what it is.
I didn't know that.
I think he has a son or a daughter who's going there.
Huh. All right.
They're going to make a good new police chief over this clown Medina. All right. We could, and we have city reporters.
We could bring in a couple city reporters.
Bring in some cop reporters.
What is Cohen's candidacy for police chief?
With the transfer portal? Will we see a player drafted straight from UNM anytime soon, basketball or football?
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I was looking at the Beast. I think it's certainly possible. I mean, it was only 2 years ago that Jarek Reed was drafted. And
2 years ago for football.
And
basketball, the last drafted player was Cameron Bairstow in 2014.
Yeah.
So it has been over a decade for basketball, but I would actually. Well, no, I don't. I was going to say I would actually see basketball sooner. That's not true because basketball only has 60 draft picks.
Exactly. The NFL and the NBA drafts are inherently different, and I certainly think it's more likely with football. Nobody, to kind of go off on this tangent, Dane Brugler of The Athletic, he does this awesome draft guide that is 500 pages. It's totally comprehensive. I spent way too much time looking at it today. And the no Lobos that played last year have a draft grade. There is one guy that did play at UNM, Jacoby Krosky-Merritt, Bill, who currently has a 5th and 6th round draft grade through the Beast. But if I could also see with this running back class, Bill being in a position where a team calls him and says, hey, we're not going to draft you, but we're going to pick you up right as a UDFA immediately when the draft is over. But yeah, I will write some more off the Beast, by the way. Sorry for the tangent. Just want to get that out.
No, that's what we're here
talking
for.
about. Yes, Sam Levitt, who started his career at Michigan State. Yeah, Levitt's really good. That's a good shout at him. Come on. He's very good.
Michigan State.
He's a good player. Good player.
I still don't understand why the Mountain West didn't just scoop up Oregon State and Washington State when they were the leftovers from the Pac-12. It seems like the Mountain West absorbing them would have been the move. I will tell you that was offered to Oregon State and Washington State, who both, rightly or wrongly, depending on what you think is going on now, they declined. They said, we have a bunch of money. We can rebuild this and watch us go. And then they ended up doing what they're doing now, which they still think is better than the Mountain West. But yeah, they expressed early on that they were not interested in joining the Mountain West.
Yes.
Nearly 2,000 players in the portal now. I will add this on the portal thing. The 2,000 players doesn't include all these junior college players too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those and high school players. So yeah, there are 3,000 players available, international players. There are several thousand players available to recruit right now.
Yes.
Okay, so with nearly 2,000 players in the portal, what changes would you guys like to see in it?
I know what Geoff wants to see. If that number should be more like 50K, because according to Geoff, everybody should enter the portal
100%
after 1 year, after any year of playing college basketball.
Until schools and collectives
goofing. I get your messaging. It's just that is
until schools and
doomsday
collectives
scenario for people that work in this industry.
Until schools start making players sign multi-year contracts. And then quit complaining, have the coaches quit complaining about, well, they don't have buyouts and we have buyouts. That's why it's unfair to us. And they get better contracts than you. Tell your agent to make UNM give you a contract without a buyout. You guys are the ones, coaches are the ones through the years who had the agents and have strong-armed athletic directors through the years into giving you always a 6-year contract with a buyout that is always in the coach's favor, this and that. And now coaches are complaining that the players' contracts are unfair. Well, no, it's because they're just stronger than yours right now.
Yeah.
Fix it by having the agents strong arm the schools like they did for you guys. Have them start strong arming the players and say, look, if you want this $1 million in NIL money, it's got to be a 2-year commitment. If you want a 1-year commitment, I will give you $500,000. If you want a 2-year commitment, and I'll give you $500,000 up front if you want it, then you have to sign a 2-year commitment. But here are the parameters. It's just like signing a lease when you're renting a place, right? Here are the penalties if you leave early. Here are the penalties. Those are all enforceable as long as a player is taking money because of a contract from a collective or somebody, some entity. Like, yes, put in whatever parameters you want, and quit complaining that the players have too much power right now.
Yeah, I generally agree with what you're saying. And I do think we've I do just think the point of everybody should always enter the portal.
I love it. Enter the portal as long as it is what it is right now.
I don't want good people that work in college athletics to go to just die year after year after year. We're trying to work in those conditions.
Every player should see what they can get.
No, that's totally fair. I totally understand it. And I am getting sick and tired of the we need guardrails on this stuff. Well, what guardrails do you want?
They want buyouts. Yeah, they want the players to have like buyouts.
Cut to the chase. I'm tired of hearing guardrails.
Yeah, put a buyout in then.
Yeah.
If the collective says I will pay you this much money, but if you leave before this date, you owe this. And if that school wants to transfer, if they want to help you with the buyout, just like a coaching leaving, the school may or may not help you with your buyout.
Yeah.
Put it in the contract. That's all you have to do. Make the contracts the same as coaches.
Make the contracts also legitimately legally binding, not just, okay, here you go, sign this. Yep. Like, actually make it a binding process.
To their credit here, that is what Kurt Roth has done.
That's what he's done,
one.
Yeah.
And since day one, he's had a lot. Yeah, something Kurt Roth has done from day one at UNM with the 505 Sports Venture Foundation collective is there have been binding legal contracts with their employees, I suppose, or their clients. Rather. Okay, Joshua Gallegos is saying, do you think any of the Division II schools in New Mexico would ever have the opportunity or money to move up to Division I?
No. I don't. I probably shouldn't. There's like Highlands is not at least the athletic department. I mean, they're not in excellent shape right now.
No, Highlands stretch. I don't know what Eastern. I mean, look, I suppose if you're ranking the three as to which one could do it first, it would be Eastern. There's some oil money issues over there, and frankly, a little more sustained and consistent success in all their athletic
programs.
They've done
well in basketball recently.
They've done well in football too, fairly well. But so Eastern's the closest, but I don't even see that one really happening. So, if a player enters the portal and nobody picks them up, what happens then? They just don't play.
They hang out.
Yep,
and they usually.
And that does
repost their tape and then retweet their own tape. And then when the portal is close to reopening again, they say officially in the transfer portal again. Yep. And
So I will say this too. A lot of the players that go in the transfer portal are players that weren't going to play again anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a walk-on that goes into the portal. And at the end of the process, when they say, look at all these players that are still in the portal, and they got what they deserve. They didn't go to another school. Some of the, I shouldn't say a lot. Some of these players weren't going to play again anyway. Some of them enter the portal because they know they're about to be ineligible, and they're like, okay, I know they're going to kick me out here. Let me enter the portal and see if I can get, summer school, get eligible somewhere else. Yep. There are some ineligible players in the portal right now. There are some or soon to be ineligible. There are some walk-ons that weren't going to get a look anywhere anyway. And there are some players that maybe do fall through the cracks and probably should have stayed where they are. But those numbers aren't all that big. But yes, there is a possibility that you enter the portal and leave the school you're at, and then you don't have an opportunity to play next year.
Coaches love pulling that out too. Yeah. The idea of, it's only this percentage of guys.
The grass isn't always greener.
Yeah, there is.
So the transfer portal, you were allowed in every sport except football and basketball to transfer without sitting out forever. Baseball could do it. Division I, every sport could do it except baseball and football till about 3 years ago, right? 2 years ago.
This is interesting.
Non-performance clauses too. Yes. I think there should be some of that. Now that kind of comes into the whole, like, oh, we don't want to take advantage of the players kind of thing. That's fine. But like at some point, a school, like that will happen when somebody is the first school to do it and takes all the heat for doing it.
Yep.
Like there's going to be some school that says, look, if you don't perform, I'm not paying you this money. And everyone's going to be like, that's horrible. That's horrible. But that's what these contracts should be if you want it to be, right? I will point out that coaches don't exactly have non-performance clauses. Coaches have a contract and then they have performance bonuses, but they don't have like non-performance clauses, meaning we take some of the money back.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, who was it? Mike Gundy? I mean, they cut some of his salary back a little bit after the end of last season, stuff like that too. So, like, certainly, like, there's a mechanism for it. And then the ultimate non-performance clause, you just get fired.
Yeah.
And you're out of a job.
But even then, it's a for cause or not cause thing, and then you get all your money. So here's a football one for you. Mike Garcia is asking, based on the current UNM football roster and coaches, will their record improve from last year? What are your predictions? I think that's a tough.
It's tough right now. Let's pull up the schedule season and give it a go. They're 4-8 last year. They were 4-8 last year. Yes. 5-7. Excuse me. It's not like I cover. It's not like I cover the team or anything.
We should have brought the football guy in. I'm sorry. Sorry, everybody. We should have brought our football reporter in.
5-7 last year. So you're saying a bowl. I've talked to Jason about that, and he's always been very upfront about it. He wants the team to improve, and he wants them to improve record-wise, and he wants them in a bowl this year. His expectation is that they will be in a bowl this year. If we're going to go off the schedule, you're playing 2 P4s in Michigan. You're opening there at the Big House, and then at UCLA on the road on like September 13th against UCLA. So that's probably pretty conservatively just 2 losses there. This is tough because I don't also have a great feel for the rest of the Mountain West at this point, to be honest with you. I don't have a great feel for San Diego State at this point. I do have a decent feel, I think, for Boise, although I don't think they're absolute world beaters. And then Utah State, obviously, that's a highly anticipated game, and I don't have an awesome feel for them because, shocker, they have not made any lick of spring practice open to the public or the media or anything like that. But to kind of, I guess, answer the question, will the record improve from last year? Probably too early to say. I do think they have some pieces offensively, certainly with the running backs at the moment, particularly Scott Trey Humphrey and the offensive line that is honestly, I felt like going into fall camp the last couple seasons that the offensive line was a bit of a question. You were kind of holding your breath to a certain degree. That was not a Freudian slip there. Just want to point that out. But I think this offensive line, I think they're probably one of the deepest positions on the team, and that's something you really like to hear. And they got good players on it. So I would predictions right now to just kind of get out of the mealy mouth stuff. I don't know, man. I could see them pushing on this and finishing 5-7 again, and that might be a pretty high ceiling, honestly, because you don't quite know until the games get going. But I would say more likely, at least right now, and we still have a full portal cycle to go to. My sense is that it might just be 4-5 wins. And it could be 3. It could very well be 3.
Such a hater. I don't see them losing the game. All right.
I don't see them. I want to add. I don't see them in the 0-win, 1-win, 2-win quad. I've seen enough.
Yeah, they're gonna win a few games.
I've seen enough that there is a baseline level of competency, and things are happening. So
Ben is answering the call of gymnastics. That is correct. Is there a transfer portal for mascots? Good question. How patient will football fans be with Eck? We asked that of Olin. How patient will football fans be of Eck? Seems like 2-2 after the first 4 would ring much differently than 1-3.
100%, because 1-3, your one win is New
Mexico State and then FCS.
No, yeah. So your 2-2, that would be that way. And then 1-3, it would end up being that's Idaho State.
The New Mexico State game's always a really kind of bellwether sort of like for the fan base. So you need to win that New Mexico State game, and I don't know if they will. I don't know enough about New Mexico State.
New Mexico State actually has a pretty darn good quarterback in Logan Fife coming in. And he is kind of the go-to guy at the moment.
Logan Fife played at
he played at Fresno State. He played I think 3 years ago at University Stadium, and he played pretty well against them, if I remember correctly.
He played though.
He played, and
this isn't just a backup.
No, he played, and then Mikey Keene
lost his job.
Yeah. He transferred to Minnesota briefly. He never played at Minnesota, if I remember correctly. Then he transferred to Montana. Was decent at Montana last year. Had a very weird, we were just talking about him earlier today. He had a very weird sideline spat with Bobby Houck. that went pretty
Yeah, I kept saying
public.
Hawk, Bobby
Yeah,
Hawk.
Bobby Hawk. Bobby Hawk to that's so terrible. That's to kick me off the show. That is awful. But yeah, in terms of that, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, because then at the end, really, you come out of that first 4 games with back-to-back road games at San Jose, who should be decent this year, and then you're at Boise again, which is a house of horrors for New Mexico to this point, and it's the last time you're probably going to play them for a good period. And then I'm not going to say the schedule lightens up with, I mean, definitely 2-2 ranks differently than 1-3 for sure. But they started 0-4 last year and ended up kind of pulling something pretty decent together towards the end.
I don't see them losing the game. Will you guys interview Mendenhall when the Lobos play them?
So Mountain West Media Days. The plan right now is that we are going to talk to them at Mountain West Media Days. I don't know if I'm going to do the general scrum. I don't know if I'm going to request we don't even know when Media Days are quite yet. I don't know if I'm going to do the general scrum or if I'm going to request him for a one-on-one. Usually you can always request one-on-ones with all these coaches when they're in that say and all that. I haven't made up my mind. We're definitely going to talk to him there. I'll probably put out a call for whatever questions you want us to ask Bronco within reason. We would get to him. And maybe, frankly, maybe we do get him on a show of some level. I don't know if he would get on this show in particular, but maybe we do get something kind of going in the lead in. And maybe we talk to some of the guys that ended up leaving with him too, in terms of the players.
All right, what's the story of spring game next week, Sean? Give us the rundown.
Yeah, the sense I get is that it's still going to be a game. They do have some injuries they're dealing with, but they're also getting some guys back. And some of the injuries that they do have, where you have, Day Buchanan, the Idaho transfer running back, he's been out with a little bit of a hamstring thing too. And then DJ McKinney, the Sam Houston State transfer, has been also out with a hamstring thing, which is a little bit kind of neat there. I think it is going to be, at the moment, a game. But I could see it end up being a spring showcase if they do have. They've gotten really lucky with defensive line injuries to this point. They haven't had really any major injuries there or anything like that, and they've been really careful about that. I could see, because they got practice tomorrow, and then they're going to do 3 more before the spring game next week on Friday. I could see a world where they might get a couple key injuries or something like that, and they do make it just kind of a spring showcase practice.
So when you say a game, do you mean offense versus defense with that scoring system?
Yeah, offense versus the sense I get, and if I remember correctly, because I did ask Jason about this at one point, where it would be kind of like 1s-on-1s and then 2s-on-2s and 3s-on-3s, and they just kind of keep rotating and all that.
So not 2 teams; it would just be offense versus defense with that scoring system.
I think they would structure. Yeah, I think they would structure.
They would do 2 teams.
I think they would structure where they do 2 teams, but it ends up probably being more like the 1s-on-1s and all that. So yeah, that's I get. I am, Jimmy. You're in my head, man.
Facility improvements, yes. What I can say about facility improvements is the governor needs to sign HB2, House Bill 2. If that gets signed without line item vetoes of some capital outlay money, I do think there's some capital outlay that's going to be going to NMSU and UNM both. And I should probably get on it and report some of that, but none of it's official till she signs. So I do think there are some possibilities for some facility upgrades, but not the overhauls that frankly are needed at University Stadium. Has anyone called Tony Soprano yet?
He's got Tony James Gandolfini. I mean, he had like just a god awful hairline.
Yeah, X got a good hairline.
Got a very good head.
He does wear the
visor.
The visor, but also the black leather jacket a little bit that gives him a little bit of that.
I see that vision now. Yeah. I have not called Jason at Tony Soprano to his face.
I get some James Yoda's vibes, man. I'm telling you.
I didn't think of that. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Wait, all right, let's discuss what really matters. Who are your guys' picks to win the Masters? Rory.
Yeah, G-Wade, I'm going to be honest with you. I cannot believe after the last couple of years that we're in a spot right now where we're all talking ourselves into Rory, but I'm talking myself into Rory at this point. But I mean, like it's tough to win at Augusta back-to-back years and all that. But at the same time, I mean, Scotty's still playing really well. Corey Connors could be a good shout. Might be interested in that. Minwoo. Maybe those guys. Joaquin Neiman is getting buzz. I don't know if I see the vision there. And then Justin Thomas seems pretty interesting as well. He's been playing some good golf lately. But G-Wade, I would probably just say, if I had to just pick one, I would say Rory and just hold on for my life this weekend.
I think you made up 3 names in that. Yeah. I don't even know.
Yeah, Richie, he can.
All right, we're gonna wrap up. I appreciate you guys all for the reader comments and questions. As always, I genuinely do.
Should we give them an update? We're planning to do these on a weekly basis.
Yeah, we are. Deadline for MLG, sign House Bill 2 is April 11th. So this week, one way or the other. There you go.
Good shout, Patrick.
I'm glad you're here because we wouldn't have been able to provide that information.
No.
Yeah. I will. Again, I have a podcast I'm recording tomorrow with Fernando Lobo, meaning I will put it together and then hopefully get it out either tomorrow night, Thursday night, or Friday morning. But that will be part of what we talk about. Primarily, again, basketball and football hires and kind of expectations, all that kind of stuff. But we will have some facility and we'll Santa Fe talk with Fernando Lobo and how much money he secured. So. I appreciate it, guys. We're gonna get these rolling weekly again, and we're gonna try and keep them all summer long, even though nothing's going on. Sometimes Sean may not be here. Sometimes I may not be here. We'll figure out how to do all that. We may bring in other people. I think too. What we'll do is UNM people, Frank, if you're listening. You guys need to jump on sometimes and, I'll send you a link and give us 10, 15 minute window of your time to have people ask you guys questions. Jalen Dominguez, Ryan Berryman, Amy Began, ADs and coaches and assistants, all that good stuff. Doesn't have to just be players because in the summertime, I know you guys don't necessarily go out of your way. Don't mean it like that, but like the players aren't necessarily doing media all that often in the summer is what I'm trying to say. So you UNM folk that might be watching or listening, maybe you guys come on the show a little bit every now and then and answer some of these questions. So appreciate you for watching, guys.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you, man.
John is saying real quick before we sign off, this is worth noting. Hoping we don't get any players poached. I
was planning on covering this. I had some life circumstances come up that made me go back to the Midwest, but it seemed like the weather there was absolutely awful. But Coppola, who is Nick Coppola, the beat writer for Las Cruces Sun News, did a very good job covering that game, as always. If you're interested in sports around the state, you should be following him and reading his stuff. It's very good, and we like Nick a lot.
Anything else you want to sign off with, Sean?
No. Thank you to everybody for tuning in, and some of you for texting me incessantly about the show as we are doing it. But yeah, thank you to everybody who's, it's good to be back, and I appreciate everybody producing our show for us.
Till next week. Thanks, guys. Follow our coverage, ABQJournal.com. Albuquerque Journal Podcast Network is also somewhere you can see all our wonderful podcasts. We got a lot of them now.
We also have articles in the print newspaper and at ABQJournal.com.
We actually produce daily this product. It's a print thing. You kind of fold it open. There's stories everywhere, current events, all kinds of cool stuff. So subscribe. ABQJournal.com/subscribe is where you can subscribe to our digital edition or our print edition, and supporting local journalism helps us even do stuff like this, which isn't traditional newspaper work, obviously. So maybe people don't register it as such, but helping local journalism helps wonderful content.
It's not even traditional work. It's just sitting and talking into microphones.
It's not work harder. It's work smarter. Talk to you guys later. I'm going to